But joining us now is Haley Stewart, and she edited a book that we're going to talk about. Haley, how you doing all the way from Florida?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
I was telling you before the show, I love your space, the great chair, the
Hey, it's
plants. It just looks
beautiful.
relaxing.
Thank you. This is my office, so this is where I do my work. It's the first time I've ever had an office and haven't just worked on the couch with my children climbing on me. So I really like it.
Well, that could make an interesting interview if they show up during the interview, which would be fun. Kevin's office looks a lot different than that. Kevin's office is a coffee maker and a bunch of pictures.
Yeah, I got to get more plants in my window, bigger window.
You've got to get a plant
Yeah.
in the window. Well, again, thank you so much for being with us. So you edited a book about Catholic women novelists, many of whose names we won't recognize. Can you tell us about a few of them?
Sure. So, kind of the vision for the project was bringing some of these novelists that aren't as well known into the conversation. So, some figures like Flannery O'Connor, for instance, is a pretty, well-known household name. Couldn't have a book about Catholic women novelists without including her. But then some others like Josephine Ward, Rumer Godden, Carol Houselander. These are people who just have either been forgotten a little bit, they were popular during their time, but have been forgotten over the years, or they are writers who are well known, like Toni Morrison or Donna Tartt, whose Catholic identity isn't brought into the conversation very much. They're talked about in literary circles, but their faith isn't often discussed. And so I just kind of wanted to shine a light on those different aspects and get people excited about reading these novelists.
And what do you think it's important, Haley, that people know about these women?
Well, I think that novels, stories are so powerful for human beings. We really understand ourselves and the world through stories, which is why Jesus tells his disciples parables. He knows that God created us to learn through stories. And so these stories are really formative for our imaginations. And so if we dive into these novels, I think it helps us form this sacramental imagination and really sometimes a story is able to communicate the truth to us in a way that a lecture or nonfiction isn't able to kind of strike the same chord.
What did you learn while you were doing this book? Because a lot of times when we've spoken to authors, they always point out the things that they learned.
Sure. I think one thing I really enjoyed seeing about these different novelists was just the variety of their experiences. Some are converts, some are cradle Catholics, some had kind of tumultuous relationships with the church, while others did not. Some would be more on the left and others more on the right. Some were mothers and some weren't. And so it was just very interesting seeing how influential all of these women were, how different they all were, and yet they're all contributing to the art of the church.
And you mentioned Flannery O'Connell, and I was wondering, Flannery O'Connor, I'm sorry, if you had a chance to see the new movie Wildcat, and what'd you think about that?
I did see the movie and I actually really liked it because they presented a lot of the short stories. It was kind of about Flannery, but then it would cut to one of the stories was acted out, which I think is the best way to get to know her through her work. And so I thought it was kind of a genius move on their part and really it seemed to me very faithful to her life.
What do you hope the book accomplishes, Haley?
I hope that it gets people introduced to these writers and feel equipped to dive into their work, giving them a little bit of their biography, a little bit about the themes that they write about, so that they feel confident jumping in and diving into their work.
And you're also an author, and you have a series with our good friends at Pauline Books. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So that series is a children's series. It's about mouse nuns who live underneath the writer G.K. Chesterton's house in England. And they solve mysteries and run a school for village mice. So there's three little mysteries, and then I'm writing a fourth one right now, and they're called the Sister Seraphina Mysteries.
And where can people find out more about you?
Sure. Well, people can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. I'm at Haley Carrots. But really, where I spend most of my writing time is on Substack. So if you just search Haley Stewart Substack, you can find my blog there. Or you can find me with my work at Word on Fire, where I'm the editor of their children's imprint called Votive.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, Haley. Have a wonderful day and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much for having me. Take
Thank you.
care.